All right, you're welcome back. I have here with me someone who I admire a lot, who's doing great things in journalism and electronic media, and the last BBC Komla Dumont Award winner, Didi Akinyele. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you. You get around. I'm seeing you again.
I know. For those of you who might know her from CNBC, you used to be a reporter on CNBC. I think you still are. I'm not sure. We'll get into that at some point. Yeah. How's it been?
Oh my God, it's been amazing. I mean, I didn't even expect it to be as good as it. Those people were treating me like I was Beyonce. Like, seriously. If you walk into the BBC now, there's 2 pictures of me, like, hanging.
That's what happened because you won.
Because I won the award. Hanging.
That was the win next year.
Yeah, maybe you should apply. No, seriously, it was amazing, and the entire process, I learned so much. It was more than I expected. Yeah. Way more, and it was just it was a lot, because obviously every single day you had to be sort of your A game if you're an award winner. Yeah. You can't have a single day.
So basically, did you go there to work? What was it? Like an internship?
Yes. Certainly, it was a placement, and literally, I was going from one team to the other. So they wanted me to get a feel of the entire organization. So this week, I'd work with the Africa team, and I'd work with business, and I'll do some online, and I'll do some radio. But it wasn't just sitting there and just looking at people working. It was actually going out and doing my own reports or writing my own stories, and then to sort of cap it all off, I then had to do a piece for the 10 o'clock news, which is like UK's prime time news. I mean, this is something that is reserved for like top correspondents, top people that've been doing it for like 20 years. I've been in this game for 4 years, and then I got that opportunity to be in front of millions and millions. Of course, I mean, I am normally in front of millions and millions of viewers, but this was
a different audience.
Yes, it's a completely different audience. So yeah, it was really good.
Great stuff. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the media now before we continue with you now. The media has gone through a lot of heat pretty much this year, especially fake news has become the term of 2016 now, especially since President-elect Trump was elected. There's a lot of talk about the media has been very biased and they're not doing their job as well anymore. Social media is taking over their work, and all of that. So how are you feeling about what you do and the media space, and how going forward the media should be acting, maybe especially in this part of the world where people still look to the media for information. I mean, we're not as tech savvy as the developed world is. I mean, we do have our parts, of course, but I mean, how do you see us going forward in this part?
Well, here in Nigeria, I mean, I think obviously the one thing that we need to do is we must always keep it balanced and non-biased, and that is something, obviously if you ask me, the differences between what I saw working in Nigeria and what I saw working for an organization like the BBC, they sort of put extra effort to make sure that they get it right, that they get the story right all the time.
As many sides as possible.
Yes, as right as possible. And there's a lot of investment that is going into that. Over here, sometimes it's a lot less balanced and a lot more biased, and you're not really sure. And as you mentioned, there's fake news, there's all sorts of things going out, there's social media. There's a lot of things that you're as traditional media, you're competing with so many people. You just have to keep at the top of your game. They're doing a lot in regards to digital revolution. They're trying to keep up with the whole digital scene to make sure that they get the best out there.
Yeah, I asked that because it looks like we talk about digital now. We're supposed to have gone digital actually this year in Nigeria. I don't think we necessarily met the deadline. It's going to happen next year. So there's a whole new space opening up here. Yeah. And of course, the online side of things is also picking up. And there's so many ways to get information now. And you wonder, how do you recommend, for example, the average Joe is able to decipher what is right and what isn't, what is fake news and what is real? We go on Facebook now. Facebook is like the benchmark or the stable now for fake news, where you see all of these headlines and you click and it looks very real, but it's all made up.
I think people should not jump into conclusions. They really need to be careful. You really need to be careful what you read online. And it's funny because there was a time where traditional media was feeling threatened, of course, by social media and digital space, and now you're getting to a phase where, you know, you're actually asking, you know, what is right, or, you know, what is the truth. And so it all comes back down to, you know, maybe you should look at the, you know, actual reputable news, you know, media organization. I mean, for example, you know, where I was, there's, you know, 2 sources of news that, you know, we get at the BBC. If it's Reuters, if it's AP, we kind of know that, okay, this, you know, this story is you know, possibly, you know, true story, is correct. We're very careful to just not go on some, you know, website or just another news organization or social media and then pick up from what someone is saying and then decide, okay, this is the news. So I think people just have to be aware. But, you know, people like gists.
People like gist.
People like gist. So in many cases, you know, you go somewhere, you go on Facebook and you see something, you're just running with it, and you're thinking, yes, look at what's happening, and then they're now doing some long debate. People are making comments on something that isn't even true. You know, so we ourselves have to be more careful where we're getting our news.
It's a very tough thing to balance, because I mean, sometimes you find that people who end up getting affected are sometimes regular people. The blogging world now is even a whole other thing where something is put up, comments are thrown out, and nobody ever sees the retractions. You know, retractions are never listened to.
Especially here, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, I guess abroad you're more careful. You can't just go on some blog and start talking about someone. You know, you're careful. You might get sued. Here, people just do whatever they like. You know, just form some story and it's true. I even saw her here. You know what I mean? And then it becomes, but as I said, you know, we like to be entertained, I guess, you know, as people, but, you know, deep down, you know, we need to really be careful.
So you're done with this now. You're back in Nigeria now?
I am, yes. You know, I'm back here. You know, so it's, you know, the Kamladuma Award process is done, yes. Next year I might do some work, you know, promoting, you know, the award.
For the next winner?
And all of that. And, you know, there's some things that I might be doing with BBC or not, or, you know, so I'm just sort of, right now, you know what, I've always been a planner. That's one thing about me. I've always sort of known what the next step is for myself. I sort of plan my life. I'm planning my life since I was like 18. I know next year I'm going to do this next year. But now, after what happened to me last year, and I was sort of shocked because yes, I applied, but I didn't expect to win. And just the way my whole journey has gone and how I've grown, you know, for the past 4 years, I've never imagined getting to the point I am here 4 years ago. Because as you know, I didn't actually, you know, study journalism. You know that story already. So I've come to, you know, the stage where now I'm just kind of letting it go and, you know, trust God and see what happens next. You know what I mean? And so that's where I am.
So what would be an ideal sort of space? I'm not necessarily talking about planning now, but what would be an ideal thing for you? Are you still talking business? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I love business news. You know, the thing I love about business news, and I just love that I'm very big for changing the perception of Africa generally in the media. You know, when you look at the way, you know, the media sometimes portrays Africa, and I think that, you know, the best space to kind of do that is in business news, because in businesses we're talking about investment, talking about opportunities, we're talking about growth. It's not always good. You know, sometimes we're talking about some company that has done something wrong, or some earnings that have, you know, come out and they're not, you know, as expected. But it's an area that personally motivates me, something that I like to do. I like to talk about entrepreneurs, I like to talk about business. You know, if I can continue to do that on a global front, then yes, because, you know, one thing about working in a global, you know, space, and, you know, it's something, probably the one thing that I loved, you know, the most out of the experience I just had was just the way you have so much influence over so many people, and you feel so powerful within yourself, because, you know, I'm out there, I'm doing a report, and I have 60 million people, sometimes 100 million people watching me. I write a story, and, you know, so many people are reading it. So you have that reach, you know, you have that voice. So as long as I can continue to be sort of global, you know, doing something, you know, portraying Africa or you know, Nigeria or the entire continent on a positive light, that's the space I want to be.
How far behind are we, did you find?
Wow, far. I mean, like, it's everything besides the actual processes, which is a lot more automated there, you know, whereas, you know, here in Nigeria, you know, a lot more manual. Even the way we do our journalism is completely different. You know, there's a conscious effort overseas to have a balanced side of a story. You might argue that, but sometimes they show more of the negatives, and I guess we'll come to that, you know, than the positives. But also the news is not biased. You know, there's no bribery in journalism there. You're not sitting at an event and people are passing out envelopes. It's, you know, and then, you know, they simplify the news. I feel like sometimes here, you know, we like to complicate our journalism. Like, you know, only a certain sector of people are going to understand what we're saying. They simplify the news. They make it that everybody can, you know, they can reach everybody. So of course it's a completely different world, but we have a long way to go, I think.
Oh, that's quite depressing. That's a quite depressing picture you just painted there.
Sorry.
I'll say something about the website you're starting.
Yes. I'm actually starting my own website. So literally, I want to launch it, you know, pretty soon. I want somewhere where I can put all the work I've done, because what you find is after a while, when you're doing, you know, so many different pieces, I'm doing pieces for CNBC, and I've done, you know, for BBC. I'm writing online, and then I have my own show coming up, which I told you about as well, and I'll tell you more about that. Yeah. You want somewhere where everything can be in one place. So obviously, I want people to see my work, and you know, so that's definitely coming up pretty soon.
Okay, let's talk about the show. What's the show going to be about?
Yeah, so this whole process started, funnily enough, with real estate. So I was passionate about real estate from, say, when I was 20. I don't know how, probably from watching property TV. I was in the UK, and I just built an in-depth passion for it. I love property investment, and I got into property investment really early. Really early, you know, in my 20s. And
how many houses do you have?
Come to my house. Come. So anyway, so when I then moved back home, you know, I found that, you know, the real estate market here was not as sophisticated. It wasn't easy to get into. You know, you needed a lot of capital. So I thought, I don't want to give up this passion. So what should I do? And I thought, okay, maybe I should make a property show, because I like property shows, and you know, it's a way to change the perception, to show these beautiful buildings and these amazing people in the property world. So that's how this whole process started. And then I sort of pitched it to CNBC, and I was offered a job, and they were like, why don't you just work with us and just learn learn a little bit. You've never done TV. So I thought, okay, let me do this. So my show is coming out. It's called A Place in Africa, and I'm making it with a company called Landmark Africa. You must know Landmark. Everybody knows Landmark. They are a real estate, Africa-focused real estate company, and we're bringing out a property show. And we're going to be showcasing everything from, you know, young property developers, the people that are making it big, you know, in the real estate world, women in real estate, you know, entrepreneurs, real estate entrepreneurs, amazing homes. And, you know, we are trying to make it as Pan-African as possible. So it's not just all in Nigeria. You're going to see quite a lot of, you know, property, and, you know, tips for people who want to get into property as well. So yeah, that is launching in January. It's launching on CNBC Africa. So that is probably going to play for most of the year next year. Yeah.
Great stuff. We'll take a break now. When we'll come back, we'll find out more about a place
in Africa.
A place in Africa. Brand new show coming up on CNBC Africa, and of course, all of the other things she has planned for the future. Please stay with us.